to hunt on foot. And the photographic safari industry has taken this term and used it for photography purposes. I try and not push Big Five, so to speak. There is so much out here, so many small things to look at. And you've got your giraffes and other iconic species like the zebra. So while they're not part of the Big Five, they are all equally beautiful, in my opinion. These buffalo are looking fine and fat. They're still coming. They're still crossing from the left-hand side here. This is a very nice herd of buffalo. Oh, look at that big bull. Oh, gosh. Where I used to work, the buffalo were actually quite skittish for some reason. They didn't like vehicles, and we used to spend a long time tracking them. And you would get their tracks crossing a road, and they would cross into the thicket, and then they would often go to sleep for the day. And one of the ways we used to track them there would be, we would find a high point and look for dust. If you saw dust, it often meant there was a herd of buffalo in the thicket, and we would watch the movement of the dust and try and work out which way they were going. When a herd of buffalo runs, you get out of the way. As Cedric said earlier, if there are ever interactions, and I'm not sure if anyone was watching on Saturday afternoon, where Talamba was looking for her cub and there was elephants present, I backed completely away from that situation, because if animals are trying to defend themselves or they're young, then they don't care if there's a vehicle in the way. There is a massive big bull coming from the left. There's also, oh, there's some huge big bulls. There's also a couple of young calves now I'm seeing coming through. They'll cross this open area in front of us. And buffalo herds are technically led, shall we say, by, they're called pathfinders. So there'll be a group or several big males in a herd who will kind of determine the movement of the herd. And often you find a couple of the biggest bulls will follow at the back to keep an eye out for predators. There's our little one crossing, and there's a big bull just behind that little one. This is a cow who's looking at us now. And she's looking at us in a very curious fashion. Yeah, there's a few young calves in here. And they would be a great target for lions. I actually had, who was it? It was the Talamatis. Ooh, a week, 10 days ago. And they were at this junction with that fascinating interaction with that young male trying to join. I'm definitely going to be watching this area for lion tracks.
Welcome back to Eco Training Islands. We quickly relocated to a dam that's known as Ndlovu Dam, and at the moment we're watching a grey heron and a number of fork-tailed drongos which are plunge bathing. And the reason why they plunge bathe is to soften the feathers and to soften the preen gland oil that's on the feathers, so that they can more easily remove that before that they apply a new layer of preen gland oil, and that's to keep the feathers supple and in full function. We've also got some impalas in the distance, which is slowly making an approach towards the edge of the water. We're sure that there will be some elephants coming down a little bit later. So one of our decisions for this morning was eventually to leave Lagafer, and that she could go and hunt in quiet. She eventually moved into a thicker part of the drainage line, and then started moving along that drainage line towards where there was some impalas, which was hopefully moving into that direction. Quite often when it does come to animal species, you have to be sensitive towards them, which is always about best viewing opportunity. And I know there's quite a few young guides that are watching, and also a number of guests that's always interested in what it does take when it does come to ethics and viewing animals. So the first and most important thing when it does come to a sighting is obviously secondly is the well-being at all times, for myself as well as for the animal at all times. I also make sure that I don't impact and altering the animal's behavior, and through experience you will actually start noticing that the animal will show you certain behavioral traits which says it's no longer happy with your presence, and that's when you either have to give it a little bit more of personal space or move on. Some of the other things that comes into play when viewing animals is also the terrain. If it's terrain that can be easily disturbed, or if it's a sensitive soil type, I'd rather leave that, because on the end of the day, your natural ecosystem, which is based on soil, water, and a number of other things and vegetation, are equally important as the animals are. Some of the other aspects when it comes to viewing animals, which I do take in consideration, is age of an animal. So when it does come to lion cubs with a female, when those cubs are older than 2 months, or leopard or hyena, then I will view them as a single vehicle. If we have them from 4 months older with the presence of a female, then we can bring in a second and eventually a third as the time progresses. From 6 months of age, you can start viewing those animals with a spotlight, but not before that. And when they're on their own, up to the age of 6 months, they should never be viewed on their own without the female. So that's just a broad general gold standard when it comes to viewing animals. Some of the other important aspects in which we come to viewing animals, especially at night time, is the use of lights. So when it does come to the use of lights, we don't shine on day active species or any endangered species. That includes species such as wild dog, as well as cheetah, and also rhinos in that case. We also then, when it comes to cubs, not shine on cubs of under the age of 6 months, as that you can create permanent damage to either leopard cub or lion cub or hyena cubs when it comes to the eye structure, eyes. Something else which we also take in consideration is when we are following predators is that we don't shine on the eyes of prey species. We can put on them and assist the predator in actually making a kill. That's highly unethical. In the meanwhile, we're going to watch our impalas as they're now coming down and see what Kelly is doing.
JP, I agree with you 100%. In my opinion, in our industry, my primary purpose is to keep guests safe, and my secondary purpose is to keep animals safe, and my third purpose after that is to see cool stuff. But I 100% agree with you. I also firmly believe in incredibly strong ethics when we are viewing these animals. We are incredibly lucky that we get anywhere near them. So I'm very respectful of that. I'm gonna come back along Triple M and back to the gate because I'm looking for lion tracks now. Normally, lions wouldn't walk this time of day, but I've kind of given up on my standard rule book here for Djuma because it just keeps making me look silly. So that's going to be my next plan. I think I'm going to just check along here, see if there's no signs of lions following these buffalo. It's a beautiful big herd of buffalo. These are hyena tracks. Lovely big herd of buffalo, and I am sure this afternoon, if nothing turns up this morning, I'm going to be coming back here this afternoon. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Ooh, excuse me. Right into my microphone. No. It's been a while since we had, I would love to see those nkuhumas with those little ones. And I was fascinated watching that interaction with that other male trying to rejoin the group of Talamatis. Sandra, good question. Is there a big difference between kudu and buffalo tracks? I will find my book and I will show you, because yes, there is. Alrighty, let me just make sure I'm not going to block the road. Sandra, I'm going to show you the difference. Let me show you. They are both even-toed ungulates, so they do have two toes or two hooves or a split hoof, however you want to call it. Okay, first of all, we will show you a buffalo track. So this is not real size. They are much bigger. They're probably the size of my hand, actually, a big buffalo. But these are our buffalo tracks. So they're very rounded on the outside. They pretty much look like cow tracks, to be honest, but they're quite circular. The whole track is quite circular. There's quite a bit of negative spacing in the center here. We call this negative spacing. Sometimes you will see this at the back, but very, very rarely. So it's quite circular, lots of negative spacing, so these hooves don't meet, and the width across the hoof is the widest point of the footprint. So these are buffalo tracks. Now let me find you a kudu track. Buffalo tracks are very similar to domestic cows. To be honest, I think I might struggle to tell the difference between a domestic cow and a buffalo track. Now I must find a kudu track. Puku kudu. These are our kudu tracks. So much more elongated, much longer. Also, the widest part of this track is the center, but you can see there's very little negative spacing in this track. So in the middle of this track, the hooves are, sorry, Paul. I'm trying to get it all in one light. There we go, that's better. They are touching in the middle. And this is the actual size of the track. So you can see the buffalo track would have been much bigger. This is the real size, and it fascinates me how tiny these feet are in relation to the antelope. And then we move down to, then we've got something like a nyala just here. So all got split hooves, but this is when it gets tricky, telling the difference between a nyala and kudu, although we often use this negative spacing when we're tracking. It's a good indicator. So there's lots of these hooves don't touch in a nyala. And also the gait of an animal. We will look at how the animal is moving, where they're placing their feet. But this is actually a fabulous book. It's got lots of tracks in, many of which are actual size. Then we get down to our dacres, our bush bucks. Tracking antelope can be tricky.
Good morning and welcome back to Eco Training Islands. We've been just watching a big group of impala. The majority of them now has started moving off. They're just coming back, and there's a lot of playing and a lot of running that's taking place and a lot of starting that is taking place. And now we've got one of the rams that are just an attempt to herd them into his territory. At this time of the year, this is right into the ratting season where the males will try and mate with females and as many of them as possible in a shortest possible period of time, because this male will only have opportunity of maintaining this territory for roughly some 8 days to 2 weeks before he eventually will become so fatigued. One of the things that we did see with a lot of the individuals that they were running as well as kicking up their hind legs and running quite high, we also see that behavior taking place even in groups where there is no males present. And sometimes it's just purely showing off how fit you are. And especially when predators are around, we also often see this exaggerated behavior with a number of different antelope species. And by showing off your fitness, it shows up somebody else which might be potentially injured and therefore distracts the attention from the predator away from you. We've got our two rams now back at it. They are fighting again for territories as well as for females. Let's sit and watch them and see what they get up to.
Yes, welcome back. As I'm sitting here now, this is where this young male leopard did come through this side not long ago. As you can see, a beautiful, nice little leopard track there with the three lobes at the back. Very, very neat. And if you really want to see with a leopard is very much a 90 degree with the pad, so you'll take it from the center. I'll go like that. Oh, there's so much wind here at the moment. No, don't. And then, of course, there from the lobes, the three lobes. So he's got this real kind of beautiful 90 degree angles of a leopard. If it had a hyena will be more kind of skew, taking it from there to the center. And, of course, it'll be like that. So it doesn't really have that real 90 degree angle to it. But anyway, while we're sitting here, what we have to do, it is very fresh. It is on top of everything here. Heading towards Chillicuddy line. I think let's head out that side and... let's follow up there quickly before, in case it does cross over. But looks like he's definitely giving us a run for our money this morning. And he's not, it looks like he's not really keeping to one direction. He's really, no, what was that now? He's really heading all over the show. I want to just see which way he went here. Don't want to get the wrong side. No, nothing there. I think he might have hit straight along here. Yeah. And we'll have to head straight towards Chillicuddy line. Jesse, good morning, good morning. Thank you. Yes, it's always nice to learn about tracking and all that. I think it's one of the best ways to, or it's one of the fun parts about it is trying to find these animals on the tracking side of things, but it's not always successful, unfortunately. That's just the way it goes. And these leopards in my tracking at the moment have been really avoiding me, which is not nice of them. But anyway, that's how it goes. I think we all have to learn in ways on really kind of keeping me on my toes, and that's a big thing. I just want to double check here on Chillicuddy line. But yeah, no, Jesse. It's not that. But we'll see now. And especially with the roads, I really like using the roads. It's easiest to get from point A to point B. How do you guys prepare for the change of season in the bush? Well, the thing is, the way the guys prepare for the change of season, of course, the main thing is jackets, beanies. That's a big thing. Of course, as you know, it does get really cold here in winter, early mornings, but once the sun comes up, it is nice and fresh. So I just want to double check, I'm looking at this here. It does get nice and fresh, but other than that, yeah, you've got to really kind of make sure that you are prepared with the jackets, beanies, and then of course, I think also walking through the bush, you don't really have to have your gaiters anymore for the ticks. You know, that's summertime. Summertime, you always have those gaiters and make sure that you got like the repellents, tick repellent. But wintertime, at least, it's a little bit more kind of easy going walking through the areas. The grass is lower and I don't have to have so much repellents in wintertime. But I think the main thing is a nice cup of coffee or flask of coffee, jackets, beanie, gloves. Always take too much and take too little. I always believe in that because you always can take off. So if you do go on drives, if you go on a safari, always make sure that you grab some. You know, funny enough, I'm actually preaching about making sure that you've got too much. And I used to, one day I did that to get, I'm like, make sure you take a lot of jackets with and all that, make sure you're prepared. The people's like, yeah, no, we've got enough jackets on drive, winter time, of course. And of course, all of a sudden, go on drive, stop for sundowners. Of course, the sun is set. Now it starts, the chill factor comes in, and everybody's got their jackets on. I go look behind my chair, look around. Guess what? Cedric goes and forgets his jacket. So I was like sitting for another hour, just over an hour of game drive, like, you know, shaking, shivering, and of course everybody's like laughing at me because I was preaching to them and I did not do what I was preaching. So yeah, hey, I'll never make that mistake again. I always make sure, even if it's a summer day, hot day, 34, 50 degrees Celsius, whatever it is, I'll make sure I've got my jacket in the car. You never know how things change. So yeah, that's how I do prepare myself for winter. Definitely. And I think in the next 2-3 days that's going to be happening. Definitely enjoying the last little bit of good old summer sun here. I feel I'm a summer person, so. Alright, so I don't know if that tracks now went further north, but nothing has crossed Chula cut line here as I can see. Nothing has crossed this side. Let's go down. I think Guaripan. Maybe we'll take a look at Guaripan. Maybe I think he cut across this north, because his general direction was north. So we're going to take a look here quickly at Guaripan. Well, at least the Northern Hemisphere is going into your summer. That is fantastic. At least you guys are going to start enjoying the sunshine and the heat and the warmth of your areas. Change of season. But I would like to see snow. I've never seen snow in my life. I would actually like to be in snow. Just to feel how it is, and I got not a clue. I've seen it on the mountaintops here in South Africa, yes, on Drakensberg and all that. In wintertime, we do have those snow, you know, it just sits on top of the mountains, but I never really got into it and like made a snow angel or a snowman. That would be very interesting. That would be nice to do. I wouldn't mind. Maybe I must go to Alaska for one winter. It sounds crazy, but never know. Maybe it'll be. Might be good. Alright, still trying to see. Yeah, there's nothing, no tracks coming out. My last tracks was on the central junction with Drakensberg. I don't know where he disappeared to. It was a very nice track set. Maybe he went south again. Maybe he's back and forth all over the show. I won't be surprised if it's Maribs because it's coming in from that side. There's a young male leopard track, so let's see if I can find him here somewhere. South.
Well, this is very, very fishy. I've had leopard tracks up and down here on Voyatella Axis. My plan is to loop around and maybe see if we can catch these buffalo on the other side. But we've had leopard tracks up, down a few times, and I've marked them here, and it looks like they've come off the road going in this direction. I've drawn a nice big arrow here so you can see that this is a track, and this is quite a big female track. So we don't want to make any assumptions, but to me it seems this female has walked in this direction, which is down towards Impala Road. But there's been some movement up and down here, which is very fishy to me. It makes me wonder what's happening here. There's also hyena tracks, so I'm not sure if you can get a clear shot on any of these, and this light's a bit tricky. But this is a track here. So I think I'm going to drive maybe down Impala Road. I can't track on this. But this is the direction of movement. So I'm going to go round to Impala Road. I've got a tracking stick, which doesn't. Oh, actually, I'm going to rub these lines out. It doesn't look nice if we leave these marks in the sand in the bush. So the same as we pick up litter, waste, what is it? Take nothing but photos, leave nothing but footprints, waste nothing but time. But very, very fishy. Let's carry on and see. Ooh, I sat on my radio. And let's try and work out what's happening here. These tracks Probably from last night. I'm gonna have a look and make sure they don't come back onto the road. I haven't seen any sign of any cub tracks. Well, yeah, yes, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We shall see what the bush delivers. I must admit, I'm really enjoying this nature-led safari. I'm kind of coming to terms with the fact that when these animals don't want to be found, they're not going to be found, and all we can do is listen and watch, be respectful and cross our fingers. I'm going to keep a close eye to see if these tracks don't come back onto this road. Oh, there's buffalo tracks all the way over here, and that was the way the buffalo were also walking. So very, very fishy. There's lots of hyena, and it makes me wonder when there's hyena tracks with leopard tracks, if there's not a kill somewhere. Because as we've seen many times, hyenas will often follow leopards and often be up in their space if they do have a kill. It's all about the story, one of my mottos. If it makes for a good story, then tell it. And it's literally like reading the newspapers. Monica, these hyena cubbies, someone did go to that hyena den this morning and there was no one home. I think I might actually, I've got these tracks back on the road again now. Okay. Someone did go there this morning. I think I'm gonna fiddle about with these tracks for a little while, not for the whole morning. And I'm gonna go back down there. I'll just check with Cedric and see what his plans are. It sounds like he is deep in his tracking of this young male that's been giving him the run around the whole morning. These leopard tracks are back on the road and they're actually over the buffalo tracks. So I am 95% sure this leopard would not be stalking buffalo. But what do I know? I'm going to try and work these tracks a little bit longer, try and work out what's happening here. And then I think I will go down to the hyena den. Someone was there about half an hour ago, I think, one of the other vehicles, and there was no activity. So I don't know. There's just buffalo tracks all over here. These buffalo walked straight down this road. And I thought they'd gone the other way. I think they must have gone in. This is how they got in, or they must have gone out and then come back in down here. Wow. That's embarrassing. Like 100 buffalo and I thought they'd gone the other way. It's very difficult with these buffalo tracks. There's not a single patch. You can see down the road it's completely chopped up and covered in buffalo poop. It's very difficult to work out where these tracks have gone. I think I'll have a quick look down onto Impala Plain, see if there's any sign of either those buffalo or these leopard tracks, and then carry on down to the hyena den and see if we can't get a little look in with those beautiful little hyena cubs. I haven't got a clue what's going on here. I think I'm going to carry on. I think I'm going to head down to the hyena den. There's too many buffalo tracks here. I can't work it out. And I know Cedric's been deep in leopard tracking this morning. I'm going to carry on to the hyena den, and I'm going to send you over to JP, who I think is still at his waterhole.
Welcome back to Eco Training Islands. We still have our breeding herd of impalas and our 2 rams that are competing with one another. And both of these rams are trying to herd the females. And we've watched them again and again going back to fighting. It will probably escalate very soon to another fight between the 2 of them for actually maintaining their territory and attempting to mate with these females. We've also just been discussing the length of mating, and when it does come to impalas, it's only been a handful of times that I actually have seen them mating, and it's actually very brief. It's over less than 5 seconds. And in general, when it does come to most mammal species, mating is a very brief affair. But there is a few exceptions to the rule, and some of those exceptions are species such as rhino, and they can apparently mate for roughly 30 to 45 minutes at a time. And then we also have species such as striped weasel and striped polecat, which is recorded between an hour and 15 minutes when it comes to mating. And then lastly, when it comes to prolonged record of mating, as far as I know, belongs to Artfulf, which is apparently between 3.5 and 4.5 hours that they can mate at a time. Lions is also quite interesting to watch, very brief. However, they mate at intervals of 15 minutes, but it only lasts for a few seconds. And that normally goes on for some 3 or 4 days. Some very interesting ritualized mating to watch. And that accounts also for leopard. We're going to spend a little bit more time here at the dam and see what else is happening. Other than our impala, there's also a grey heron that's busy grooming himself. And directly on this side of the dam in front of us is actually a very good view of the adult as well as the chick of a blacksmith lapwing. And I've just been watching this blacksmith lapwing for several weeks now and watching how the plumage coloration is changing. At first, it was just a little fur ball on 2 legs and a small little head that used to stick out. Or a little bit all the feathers in that case, not fur. My apologies. Our 2 rams are now back at fighting and locking horns, and the one just broke away. Let's see if they're going to connect and start fighting again. Good morning. Couldn't hear the name very clearly. It's either Tammy or Sammy. And to answer your question, they actually do very little when it comes to courtship. All that they want to know is that they've actually got the best possible male. They can provide the best possible genetic material. And that's a winner that can maintain a territory and hold a territory at that point of time. And that's the reason why females avoid mating with subadult males as well as inferior males in that case. And it's also to do with natural selection, because if the best possible genes can be utilized for that species, it means the long-term survival of that specific species. When it does come to the fighting, we do see fighting taking place in a number of different animal species. And we also quite often find that males will fight for territories in some cases, and in some cases females will fight for territories too, to maintain that territory. But when it comes to fighting for access to mating, we generally find that most animal species which is dependent on their health, where they need to be able to protect themselves against predators and get away from predators, that the fighting tends to be more of a ritualized nature. And generally competition and injuries in that case is also very rare. And it's only equally sized individuals that will normally then fight. Even with elephants, when it comes to them, we find that it's very ritualized up to a certain point, but when it's equal size males and must, somebody will pay with their life, generally when it comes to fighting. The same for lions and large animals such as rhinos, where they don't need their health to protect themselves against potential predators. That fighting can be brutal. While we're watching our impala rams fighting it out, let's go and see what Cedric and his elephant is up to.
Yes, welcome back. I'm just sitting with a beautiful young male elephant. Was just enjoying an early morning feed. I think there's quite a bit of wind at the moment. You'll find many times they'll actually just kind of keep those ears open and let the wind flow over the ears itself, just to keep them nice and cool, especially when it's a nice warm day. But it is very windy at the moment, so it is a little bit more pleasant for some of us. But yeah, it's a nice young boy. You'll know that these young males sometimes still travel by themselves, or they'll actually join more like the breeding herds once they get kicked, bachelor herds, once they get kicked out of the breeding herds at about 16, 17 years old. Let's see which way he's going to go now. He's not deciding to poke his head behind the bush. But it is very interesting. I love elephants. Once again, as I said, I can watch them all day. They're very, very fascinating animals, and it's just the behavior, and especially with the breeding herds, and you've got the young calves. It's full of joy, bouncing around and running around. They're absolutely really cute. But yeah, all these younger males, once they get to the ages of 16, 17, that's unfortunately that normal puberty, like testosterone will start picking up in their system, and because of that, the aggression, of course, as well, and then they become a little bit aggressive and hard with the younger calves in those breeding herds, and you'll find that the matriarch and the females in those breeding herds, they do not really tolerate their behavior, and you'll find that they'll get them eventually, at about 16, 17 years old, get pushed out of the herd itself. And then when they get pushed out, you'll find then they'll just kind of, most of the time, join older males to gain some experience. I'm just going to try and get a little bit forward here. I just want to get a bit of visual. Oh, there's another one coming up the other side. Wait, there's another one there. Looks like there's a few that side. Okay, let me just go a little bit forward. I just want to see. Oh no, one is heading that way, one's heading that way. They're all deciding to just stay behind the bush. Let's see if we can. What do you think there? God, you got a little bit back there. Eh? I think so. Maybe that one will pop its head out again for us. I think maybe we'll be lucky there. Yeah, there we go. I think we'll be lucky. It's actually, so it looks that young male, definitely looks like that young male still with the breeding herd. There is a couple more elephants all around in the drainage line here. Very much, of course, feeding. I think maybe they came from the waterhole from Treehouse Dam, because I'm moving away from Treehouse Dam itself. But elephants, they are definitely one of the heaviest consumers of vegetation around here. You're looking at about 5% of their body weight. Like a big male 6 toners will be about 250 to 300 kilograms of vegetation per day. Enjoying these elephants just mulling around here, slowly but surely heading along this drainage line. Let's see, there's a few further in the thickets. Not really, doesn't look like really a big breeding herd, but there's quite a few around this side. I've seen some of these breeding herds getting up to about 60, 70 in a breeding herd. Sometimes some people even said they've seen way more, like about 100 in a breeding herd. And that's actually quite a bit of elephants in a family herd. As you know, the family herd is around about, it's just run by a matriarch. So usually your oldest, the most experienced female in these breeding herds, they all kind of rely on her experience and her memory on where to go to the next watering hole, especially on dry times, where she has to know which watering holes is still has water. Because sometimes they can move great fast distances between water holes, and if she gets to a water hole and there's no water, sometimes you'll find that it could be a little bit of a problem, especially with the younger ones, and then they start moving much quicker towards the next watering area. So yeah, there's a lot of responsibility on the matriarch's shoulders.
Just here on the access road, I saw a dark blob in the golden grass, and this buffalo was laying down sleeping. He really is huge. And look at the size of this boss. I actually thought it was a rock at first, but you start to recognize rocks on a property, and this rock was not present yesterday. So he would have broken away from this herd that isn't too far from here. But this is a big boy. So while it is a risk, him being alone, you would have to be a very brave, hungry lion to take on this monster. He really is the machine of the buffalo world. When you see these big old dugger boys standing, they're just pure muscle. Nelly, they don't have an alarm call like impala or zebra as such. I'm just trying to think how many times I've heard. It's more they will sort of bellow as they're leaving, more of what I've seen. It's not like a snort or a bark, or a dog. Boys like this would be more likely to just bellow as they depart. They do work as a team. So those moos or bellows would alert the rest of the herd to the fact that there was a predator here. but not necessarily. Nelly, I wouldn't say in the same way as Inyala or lots of our other antelope. This boy might get on the go shortly. He might start to follow the herd again. But often when they get to their senior years, shall we say, they will find a wallow or a pan or a nice dam and just see out their years having a peaceful life. So these buffalo, they don't have a golden eye. It's more of a dark, no definitive coloration like some of the other antelopes, but they do have extremely good vision. I think I'm going to leave this old boy to his devices. I'm going to carry on. I haven't seen these leopard tracks come back onto this road, so I'm going to hand you over to Cedric while I make my way down to the hyena den.
Hi, back here at Treehouse Dam. Of course, we got our beautiful impala rams just all sussing each other out, really strutting. We can see that. Yeah, no, that's definitely a little bit of testosterone going there. They're trying to work out who's the dominant one in this bachelor herd. And you can really see like you're more of the submissive male, just move away from any confrontation instead of challenging whoever is trying to challenge that individual. So always work out the ranking in the bachelor herds, yeah. Good times, good. It's very nice. Really coming into the park at this time of the year when you're getting to this the behavior of the impalas and starting to see, and you just sit there and you just actually just watch them and how each one pushes the other one, and you can start working out who's the more dominant one. But you can see even that guy, he's even got himself some oxpeckers. Oh, he doesn't like them. He's still got one left on there. And a couple of red-billed oxpeckers, of course, just making sure that his coat is also clean for battle. Very pretty animals, really, really. They are stunning. Especially when you start getting the females around you, the big breeding herds, then you'll see the aggression gets much higher. Fiona, yes, good morning. Thank you for joining us on our Sunrise Drive. That is correct. They will still fight. Even in the bachelor herds, they will still compete with each other, even if there's no females around here. The whole idea is for just to make sure that who's ever dominant in the bachelor herd, and he can actually more challenge the male that's actually got the breeding herd, and he will go and challenge to see if he can overrun or overpower the male that's controlling a breeding herd. Well, there might be a breeding herd further into the thickets. I'm not too sure. I did see a couple of impalas moving further away from the dam, a little bit more in the westerly direction. So there might have been a few females outside. It could be 2 or 3 or 4 females, but still, these males will still compete. It's just pretty much instinct that they know that they just have to try and challenge and see how dominant they are in these bachelor herds. So yeah, thank you very much for that question, Fiona. Thank you very, very much. I know that those are just saw warthogs, but I think they disappeared. I think those are just bolted out of here. A lot of wind, so you'll find a lot of animals do become a little bit nervous when it's very windy days. Because a lot of smells, things that's just going all over the show. So if there has been lions or leopards around in the area, because that scent, we've pretty much been blown past them, and they'll become a little bit edgy about it. We're also facing one direction as well. Almost like they're facing into the direction of the wind, where the wind is coming. The Of course, sitting at treehouse. I just want to see if we can see our little lapwing chicks around here. I don't see too much movement. They might, because of the wind and all that, maybe even those lapwing chicks might even be nestling somewhere. I'll double check on these impalas. Let's see. Sticking out of its leg. Oh yes, the one right on top, that's right. It looks like a bit of the skin, not like a real tissue damage, more like just a real skin damage, just really more the coat that has been peeled off there. Of course, now you must understand, maybe, well, I'm not going to go and jump to any conclusions here, but I mean, it's different scenarios. Maybe it could be because of these males, typical this time of the year, of rutting, and it might have just horn might have just clipped it on the side there and caused a little bit of skin damage. But yeah, that's for me, that's the most likely I'm going to say thing that actually happened to that impala. Maybe leopards got away from a attack, but I don't think so. You'll see different markings to that. I think definitely you will see more of both sides. You know, if it's running away, try and grab it on both sides or something like that. But I think it was more just maybe a bit of fighting injuries. That's typical for this time of the year. Even you'll find around the neck areas of the impala, you'll find many a time you'll find like little blood spots on their neck. And of course, when they do sparring, those horns are very, very sharp, and they really go in with a lot of force. And with a lot of force, the other impala is not, or a ram is not ready for that fight. I mean, he could be a little bit slow or something. He might get impaled by his competitors' horns, and that won't be a good thing, because impala horns are very sharp and very strong, so you got to really watch out for those things. But he'll be fine. It's just a little bit of looks like a little bit of skin damage. Nothing too serious there. But yeah, all spotted. We've still got a little bit of little lapwing and blacksmith lapwing. This moseying around this area, of course, with maybe the chicks might be around here somewhere. Well, I don't really see them at the moment. Oh, there is one, is it? Yeah, there is one. Hello. Yeah, they've got two. I saw two yesterday. And they're really getting big. It's nice to see every day. You see these little chicks growing day by day. The life of a blacksmith lapwing chick. Yeah, I definitely can write a book about these chicks. Well, they withstand quite a few things, really. I mean, Marips and Zemba was here the other day, and they had their confrontation at the dam with these little chicks around as well. I mean, I'm sure the hyenas have been back and forth at this dam because the den is not too far from here. So I'm sure these chicks they've really had a huge learning curve at this dam with a lot of predators coming through here. And there's also that brown snake eagle that hangs around here quite often as well. So that's also another thing. Look, maybe it's not really a big threat to them, but I'm sure the brown snake eagle will take that opportunity if it has to be there. You never know.
I'll make my way to the Djuma Meeting car.
now in the last sort of 15 minutes here on Djuma. Often could be an indicator of some rain coming, but there's no clouds, so I don't think it's coming just yet. Sometimes when it's windy like this, animals will hide, park in a nice shaded, sheltered spot for the day. It does make animals much more nervous, this wind. They can't hear properly, they can't see properly with the movement in the trees. The smell will be swirling. You will notice that animals get much more twitchy when it's getting windy like this. I am still keeping an eye on any sign of leopard tracks. I couldn't follow them on that access road. There was just too much buffalo activity. Yolanda, books will tell you yes, but no. I have seen well, I didn't see the hunt, but I have seen a single male lion on a dead buffalo, which would indicate to me that he did that on his own. It is a more sensible strategy, Yolanda, to hunt buffalo in groups. But if there's a lioness or a male lion who's broken away or doesn't have a pride, or he has it, that was the scenario I saw it in. The male lion didn't have a pride, he hadn't claimed a territory, so he has to hunt alone. And it just so happened there was a group of buffalo, and he took one. So books will often say yes, but I prefer, if possible or where possible, to go on things I've seen. And I know of a single male lion who killed buffalo, so. Oops, sorry, I'm poor. I'm on Philemon's dip. I haven't seen any more leopard tracks here. I'm gonna keep an eye if there's anything very fresh, but I am gonna carry on and see if we haven't got any activity at that hyena den. Oh, this breeze is actually lovely. Turning onto Philemon's cut line. I love these big wide roads where you've got good visibility. You never quite know what you're going to find when you turn. You can see all the way up this cut line. And I'm going to be going on to Taxon's Road. Let's see if we can drive into this hyena den together, because as you know, we can't stay there if there's no adults present. So sometimes we will go in, there's nothing there, and we come out. But I do like to try and show you all that we are trying to follow up in this den site. Craig, the wind will affect tracking. It does make it much more difficult to determine the age of a track. If it's still, well, it goes both ways. If it's fine sand and it's windy, that track will appear older than it actually is. The wind will have been whipping the sand away, so those clearly defined edges of that track won't be as easy to see, so it might make it look less fresh than it actually is. Okay, I'm turning onto the 2-track where this den site is. Let's see if we can go in here together. Everyone cross your fingers. We will see if there's anybody home. It's very much the right thing to do. If there's no adults here, then we don't stay. We will literally turn and we will come straight back out again. We don't want to put any pressure on this. It's their home. It's their house. This is where they relax. This is where they come for safety. And we don't want to disrupt these little ones if they're here on their own. So let's drive in here together. There is nobody home. I'm just going to ask to frame on that. I'm not even going to switch the vehicle off. I can't see any animals sleeping here. There is our entrance to our den site. Oh, that light's difficult. Sorry, man. And we've got no one here. I'm gonna turn and leave. I don't want to bother if there is cubbies in here. I think what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pop into that other den site on Taxon's Road where I had my porcupine, not my porcupine, the porcupine, and just have a check there to see if they haven't maybe moved. I'm gonna send you over to Cedric, who I think is still on the move.
Hopefully that porcupine is still there. It'll be fantastic. Sorry, I just wanted to see maybe that porcupine is at home. As I left Charles Dam, I did pick up on big male leopard tracks heading into the inflow of the dam itself. So most probably for Molawati. So I'm just gonna just doing a loop around. But Molawati is not the most relaxed male leopard around here. So unfortunately, sometimes if he does hear a vehicle come or if he's around the area, he'll stick low. I mean, it used to be a male. Dawn used to be like that. Even a very interesting thing as well is you must remember back in the days when Tingana just came into this area as well. Tingana was just as I can say skittish with vehicles, and he always used to kind of hide away and stay away and never hung around. And it didn't take long. It took a couple, maybe a year or two, to really get him to a point of became so relaxed with vehicles present, so became more comfortable with a vehicle in the area. So maybe you never know if the Molawati might end up like that as well. Oh yeah, wait. This is hyena track, sorry. Might end up like that as well. Maybe when she started becoming more relaxed with the vehicles around. But Tingana used to be just as shy around vehicles. So eventually we could actually even track him on foot. And I remember my tracker Norman used to be walking behind Tingana, and he was calling, and maybe about 20 meters in front of my tracker, calling and just carrying on, oblivious from my tracker's presence. He knew my tracker was there, but he just carried on and doing his normal territorial call. And of course my tracker tried to get me into that sighting. He did head into this block, so I'm just going to do a little bit of a loop, maybe head down towards Treehouse Dam again on the eastern side. So I'm doing the western side now, and then I'll do it on the eastern side. Just want to see if any of the tracks do come out, and where do they come out. Oh, watch your head there, Egod. Nelly wild guy. Wild guy, yes. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the question. Will leopards hunt vultures? Put it this way, leopard is opportunistic. If that opportunity does arise and there is a vulture that is injured and lying on the ground, or not lying on the ground, but it's struggling, maybe a broken wing or something, or gets caught unaware, that the leopard's right there for sure, definitely. I mean, that's just the way leopards are. They're one of the most opportunistic cats that you'll get around here. That's why they can really do very well, especially being a solitary cat themselves. And if it's even a young male leopard, will even do the same. It'll even go for a vulture. So yes, definitely they will kill a vulture. I mean, safari used to eat insects and little lizards when she started ending off, in her, how can I say, body physique was deteriorating due to age and her teeth and all that. So, I mean, you would never think that a leopard will do that. And, well, she had to do it. She had to adapt and improvise. So then take that opportunity if it was there just to feed. So, yeah. Coming down now on the eastern side towards Charles Dam again. Just looking carefully on this little section if you didn't cross over, because he came straight to the dam. The impalas are relaxed in a way, but as I said, there's a lot of wind swirling around, so what they've picked up, and if they haven't picked him up that side, maybe he's still lying around at the dam itself. But he is a very sneaky male leopard that really eludes us. I'm not going to spend too much time looking for him because I don't feel I won't feel lucky with him. He'll hide somewhere that you'll miss him completely.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. We quickly repositioned to one of the other dams as it became very quiet on that side. But we do expect that things are going to start picking up as the morning is progressively becoming warmer. And in the meanwhile, we're going to do a short little silent segment, allowing you to listen to the sounds of nature, as well as have a quick look at all the different creatures such as birds and reptiles which we are finding around the dam.
on Rebecca's Road. I'm sorry there was no one home at our Djuma hyena den. I also checked the other site on Taxon's Road and there's no sign of activity there. So mysterious. I'm gonna go around, I want to check Zoe's, maybe Balanites area to see if these buffalo have made their way down, and if I have time I want to do one more loop around Triple M and the gate and have one more look for any lion tracks crossing in. If not, I will definitely be following up in that area this afternoon. I haven't been looking to see if those leopard tracks have come out here. It is kind of a case of if you are on a bit of a mission, you do need to sort of pick a plan and stick to it. So my mission, certainly for the rest of this drive, and I would imagine this afternoon as well, is to try and find some lions. Those buffalo were moving fairly deep into Djuma, straight onto the property, which is great news. I would hazard a guess, I don't know why I keep guessing at things, that they might lay down somewhere. They might try and find a thick area, especially with this wind. The wind has picked up quite a bit, and they might snooze for the day. But we shall see. Lots more signs of elephants as well. There was lots of evidence of elephant activity, a herd very close to the axis of Djuma camp. Ian, I would say yes. I would say lions do have the same scent throughout their lives. It's how pride bonds are formed and maintained. Obviously some visual as well. But lots of those pride bonds, connections will be built and maintained on scent. So if they were swapping their scents around, it would confuse everyone. So yes, they will have their same scent for their whole life. There's more elephant tracks here. It does fascinate me how nature turns and evolves with the seasons. These animals have been doing this for millennia. These movements, these digressions, changes in area. I'm keeping half an eye on the road for any signs of lion tracks. It could be that if they have crossed, they might have flanked the herd. Maya, we don't have anything that flowers full time, but we do often have some sort of flower at any one time of the year. I'm still trying to work out what the purple ones and the white ones are that I saw the other day. We've got some wild hibiscus flowering at the moment. Hello, boys. Let's have a look at you boys there. You're very handsome. Maya, we do have often some colour or plants or flowers throughout different times of the year, but not one flower that flowers permanently, because obviously those flowers are about pollination and cross-pollination and the reproductive system of plants, and they will flower to assist with plant reproduction. So we don't have anything that is in flower all year, but we do have flowers that are dotted around throughout the course of the year. This looks like a motley crew of impala boys. If it was Saturday, I don't know what day is it? If it was Saturday, I'd say they're probably on their way out for the day, on a boys' day out. They don't really have any responsibilities yet, I wouldn't have thought. Most of the big males that have claimed these herds as theirs are now pretty much in situ. So I would imagine these males do not have a position of such power at the moment. But there might be a breeding herd not far from here, and they might start watching to see if or when that dominant male is going to run out of energy. I'm on Impala Plains at the moment. I have a feeling these buffalo might be in the block between Impala Road and Zoe's Road, but who knows? But I'm definitely keeping an eye out for any signs of lions. See how these impalas, they're not feeding, they're not relaxed. It's because of this wind. Really paying attention to any smells they pick up. And you will see it, they almost take it in turns to look in different directions. I mean, they're looking at us now. But often one will be facing one way, one will be facing another way. The more eyes and ears to keep lookout, the better. I think I'm going to carry on across Impala Plains, and then I think it's not the prettiest road, but I think I'm going to go straight back up Triple M. It's the best way to look for lion tracks, in my opinion. So I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to send you over to Cedric, and I think he's found another waterhole.
Yeah, back at Twin Dams, as you can see, we've got a leopard tortoise that is busy drinking from the water. Absolutely, I love it. You hardly ever see really the tortoises drinking from these dams. I'm sure it must be the same female that we saw, I think it was yesterday or the day before, if I'm not mistaken, around. So yeah, exactly, yeah. But just, of course, up from the bank itself, moving into the thickets. Because they're trying to take in as much water as possible now before, winter comes, before they go and rest somewhere and tuck themselves in for winter time. They do prefer summertime with the rains. They're way more active. Of course, there's more vegetation around as well. All the little flowers and leaves and little grasses for these leopard tortoises. Of course, now what he's pretty much doing, or she's pretty much doing now, is trying to fill that bursa. Now, bursa is just like a storage area for the water itself inside of them. So, if in case during the real tough times, they've got a reserve supply of water that would help them through difficult times of droughts or the winter times. So I always find that people, I understand if you want to move the tortoise out the road, for sure, I agree with that, and do it very slowly, but if you do give them a fright, they actually empty the entire bursa and actually urinate all over the show, and and if you do put them down and there is no water around that area, then it could be a problem. But if they do urinate, just make sure that there is water around there so that at least they can fill themselves up again in a reserve tank. But very, very nice size leopard tortoise. I think that, as I say, female, because just by the size of her, males really do not get to that proper size where you'll find the females much larger And they get to at least a good around about 80 years old. She's trying to turn around now. I think she's trying to turn around, or she's just... Yeah, she's turning around. I think she's... I'm trying to... Well, she has to engage 4x4 sooner or later to get up that hill. Yeah, she's not turned. I think she's just finished her nice drink of water. Virginia, good morning. Can they swim now? If she has to go into the water, plop her in the water, I think she would just sink to the ground. They're not built for swimming, not like the terrapins with really the flipper, modified flippers, and same as turtles as well. So you'll find with the tortoises, they are terrestrial. So if they do go into the water, it's they don't know how to really, they can't stay buoyant, and it's unfortunately they would sink in there and drown. So yeah, she has to be very careful about that. So they play very safe, making sure she doesn't... Oh, so it looks like she wants to come for another sip. I think she's realized that going uphill there is going to be quite a challenge. Maybe have another sip here. There you go. Have a drink. Yep. Very well protected, so of course you'll find that tortoises, they can really tuck into their shells. Right, that's exactly, well, that's exactly what I said, leopard tortoise. I think maybe I was tracking this leopard tortoise the whole morning. Maybe it wasn't the leopard, maybe it was just the leopard tortoise. No, I'm sure. No, it was a normal leopard, but yeah, at least we got some kind of leopard this morning. Oh, pretty though, absolutely. Especially with the younger leopard tortoise, they got that real coloration on their shells that really resembles the coat of a leopard itself. So, of course, hence the name leopard tortoise. Oh, it's actually going in the water, maybe cooling down a bit. Okay. Huh. Very interesting, very nice to see a leopard tortoise taking a little bit of a swim, a little bit of a enjoyment here, just to kind of, I think, maybe cool down. So she has to know that's going to be still another hot day. I think just preparing for whatever has to happen today. That is, that's fantastic. There you go. Oh, things like that. That's enough. Let's get out of here. Also, ridges on the back as well is quite prominent, so many times you'll find the older they get, the more prominent those ridges right on top of their shell becomes, and you can see that female's got... I wonder what she's doing with the back legs. She's kicking out her back legs a bit there. Wow. Thank you for giving us a little bit of a show at the water there. But if she's going to go back to the same spot where we saw her coming from yesterday, it's quite a walk. It's a long walk. It's a long walk. And you can see exactly where she is now. We're going to go right past the tree that's closest to us now. We're going to go past here on the other bank, and then she's going to head all the way down towards a quarry. There's a quarry bush that looks like she's utilizing. I think, yeah, just there to the right of the picture, those quarry bushes there. I think that's what that's where I saw her was going in the other day. So I wonder if she's going to head back to that same spot. This feels a little nice and cool there. As you can still hear and see, it's quite a wind that's still blowing around at the moment. It's quite a I can say, quite a heavy breeze that we're experiencing. But it's nice. Nice and refreshing for the morning at least.
I've come back onto Triple M. I'm not going to zigzag across looking for those buffalo because we know they are in. Because we have seen them and they were mobile east. So, now we try and look for lions. And the only way to do that, as I always say, is to come back to the cut lines and check. I am definitely going to finish checking Triple M here and then probably head back down Voyatella Access Road, see if there's any tracks crossed there, and then if there isn't, the first thing I'm going to do this afternoon is head back, probably past the dam, because I like checking the dam because there's cool stuff there, and then through to Buffalo's Hook cut line and check that cut line to see if any lions have come in from that side. It's very tactical. I think this is hyena. I would expect, I shouldn't expect things. I would anticipate probably seeing maybe more likely to be a pride come in. I'm not sure where any of the lions are at the moment, either the Nkuhumas or the Talamatis or anyone else. So I'm not sure where they might be coming in from, which doesn't make the job easier. This is when you must be very careful not to miss a track.
Welcome back to Eco Training Islands. At the moment we're back at Impala Plains and right on the top, and we're steering down towards the drainage line. So when it does come to finding animals, we need to understand that different animals will have different niches which they occupy. And that niche might be anything from forest, savanna, grasslands, and some species will be occurring in a number of different niches. So when it does come to the habitat, that is often a very good starting point if you are looking for a specific species. We also want to ask ourselves if that species is active at night or active at day. We also want to ask ourselves if that species is active only in the first part of daylight, and directly again when it comes to the last part of a little bit of light that is left. And those species we refer to as crepuscular species. We also like to often ask ourselves, what is the water requirement for that specific species? Are they dependent on water or are they independent on water? All of these little things will help you to actually locate on a specific species. But when it does come to this time of the year, and if you are looking for general game species in the early part of the morning, the best places to come is areas such as this, where you've got an east-facing slope. Because in the cool winter months, animals start off on the east-facing slopes and then progressively move down towards the plains or towards the drainage lines as it starts warming up. The opposite is also true for summer. There, the animals will start in the plains areas and then progressively move to the higher slopes in the later part of the afternoon where there's cooler temperatures. If I do scan through my binoculars at the moment, I'm looking at a number of different groups of impalas, and it's all now moved into a shade and the drainage line. And what I'm also looking for is their general behavior, and at the moment they're totally relaxed, which means that it's very unlikely that the lioness is very close to them, or it simply hasn't seen them yet. I'm just going to stick around here for a little bit longer and see if there's any other secondary disturbances that might indicate the presence of the lioness that we were following a little bit earlier this morning. Some of the other things that I'm also looking for is the movement of birds, such as both tawny eagles as well as batelia. These are birds that fly fairly low, and if she has made a kill, they'll generally spot that from underneath the vegetation or at an angle where they can spot her underneath the vegetation, as most lionesses will drag the prey into the shade where they can feed, and at the same time that it's unlikely that birds of prey such as vultures will be able to see it from directly above. In return, species such as batelia as well as tawny eagle also often indicate the presence of a carcass to a host of other birds of prey as well as animals. And it's all of these little behaviors combined with habitat water requirements which you can use to actually locate on a specific species. The longer you guide, the more you build up on these different skills. And if you do start off guiding, it's always advisable to go and find yourself a good mentor who is willing to share these little skills and tricks with you. And if you do decide that you would like to come and join us in an eco-training course, you will be learning all of these skills from a host of different top-class mentors that's been for many years in the industry. We're going to hang around here a little bit longer and then start making our way back towards the drainage line and go and see if we can locate on anything over there. But for now, let's go and see what Kelly is up to.
I have done another check up Triple M. I'm not going to chase around trying to relocate these buffalo. We know they are in because we saw them. My next move is going to be seeing if they have been followed in by any lions. Balanites across Impala Plains and back up Triple M. I'm going to now go back through Voyatella access, checking for lion tracks. And then my first port of call this afternoon will be to go back to Buffalo's Hook Cutline because they did come in from Sydney's dam. And then I will check the other side and see if any lions have come in from the other side. It really is like a detective game. And sometimes we solve the mystery and sometimes we do not. And this is what keeps me coming back. I really do enjoy being a part of these dynamics and trying to understand them. And I've learned lots in the last few weeks that animals and nature do not necessarily follow rules or read the books. I did know this, but I've had some very stark reminders in the last few weeks, which is great. It keeps us thinking, it keeps us on our toes. So we are back to where the road is littered with tracks of this huge group of buffalo. Oh, this wind is strong. Sorry if you can hear that in my mic. It's really picked up and I'm getting sand in my eyes. Could be good for predator movement. That means animals are nervous, but predators will use this wind to mask their scent and their sound if they are hunting. Plus, if it's cooler, our predators are more likely to move. Wow, that wind is strong now. It looks like these buffalo were here, probably on this access road overnight. No sign of them being trailed. I'm going to carry on checking for these lion tracks to see if there has been any crossing the access road.
Welcome back to Eco Training Pridelands. We just repositioned our vehicle quickly on Impala Plains to see what we can find. We decided to quickly make a stop and have a good look on the Drakensberg Mountains that's in the distance. A fairly interesting mountain range, and if we do look at the geology of this section of a Drakensberg, unlike that of the southern part of a Drakensberg, it's actually quite complex. The southern part predominantly consists out of basalts, which is a igneous rock which is associated with volcanic activity, where that will then have simply poured out on top of the Earth's surface and very rapidly then cooled down. This part of the mountain we see at the top, it is a very hard outcrop which is known as black reef quartzites, and those black reef quartzites are actually a metamorphosized form of stone, and generally that's a sedimentary deposit which has been exposed to heat, pressure, and then therefore have become harder, and but it's never been changed due to the heat to such an extent that it will be remolten into another form. Directly below that we also find an area which has got more reddish rocks, which is generally be associated with a Volkberg group. And directly below that, we also find a very old group of granites, which is probably some 3.1 billion years of age, if I remember correctly. And as you progressively go from the west towards the east, the rocks simply become younger. And as you will travel eventually through the Kruger National Park into an easterly direction, you will reach the Rhyolite Mountain range, which is known as Lubombo Mountains, which is the youngest of these part of our geology for this area, and they're probably some 180 million years of age. And as you will notice, if you do look at the map, there's 4 distinct bands with geology throughout the Kruger that runs from north to south. Each of these has got their own unique vegetation structure and their own unique animal populations.
I've just stopped here on Sandy Patch. I haven't seen any lion tracks yet, but this is a great place to stop and listen, because firstly we have impalas here who will alert us to lions, and I just saw this beautiful flock of starlings. They're all bouncing around there trying to balance in the wind. Oh, there's a buffalo weaver up there as well. All facing into the wind. Look at that. So there's actually a mixture of birchals and I think they're Cape Glassy or could be greater bluehead, I can't quite see. So different species here in this in this tree. And I'm not entirely sure why they're here. I can see they're all facing into the wind, and they're almost leapfrogging each other, trying to stay on those branches. It's not often we see this many together. Look, there's more coming in. If these birds were migratory, I would think they might be gathering, but they're not, so I thought they might be gathering to leave. I'm sure it's something to do with the wind. And there is a lonely red-billed buffalo weaver there as well. Stephen, thank you so much for your comment. It has been our pleasure, and we really hope you will be joining us this afternoon, Stephen. Let's see if this wind drops. I don't know why these starlings are all stood on this tree. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning. It really is always a pleasure and fabulous to hear all of your questions. Please get them ready for this afternoon. We really hope you can join us all this afternoon. We look forward to seeing what the bush brings. I know I'm going to be going straight to Sydney's to see if we can't find any lion tracks coming in. We will see if this wind drops. We will see if the lions appear. Who knows what this afternoon will bring, but we hope you can all join us and we can find out together.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.